Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm here with you today. Incense. Alright. We are going to go deep today. Got some water. Tea. This is Host Defense, by the way. I'm sure you can see that label. Reishi, mushroom tea, lion's mane mixed with peppermint and chamomile. Puts me to sleep. Helps me relax. Doesn't no real groggy effect or after effect. It's really good. I enjoy it a lot, and I've only had maybe like 2 cups over the last couple of days, but I sleep really good. So cheers, boys. Getting into that NOFAP Zen. All right. We're probably gonna dive into Pandora's box just a little bit, right? Gonna go deep. So it's been a while since I burned some incense. NOFAP and relationships. By the way, this is a scripted video, so took some notes. Want to keep all my thoughts in order. First things first, porn is ruining relationships, particularly the dynamic between men and women. And not just the relationships between men and women with couples, but also men as a category and women as a category. And if we want to get even more technical, it's ruining our kids. Why? We live in an age of instant gratification with porn. We're living in an age where there is an insurmountable amount of novelty at the touch of a button, the click of a mouse, the poke of your screen on your phone, right? Also, porn on the go, right? I bet you haven't heard that one before. So there's definitely something going on, you guys, with this whole thing. And you know, I learned a lot of these words from Gabe Deem. I talked about him in a video a while back, left a link, and he recently had spoken out on Capitol Hill about how it's becoming more of a public health issue, and he had also spoken in a previous video about that as well, at like some kind of a health summit. It was an organization. I can't think of it off the top of my head, plus I'm going with the flow here right now, but I do, it's not in my notes, but he's worth mentioning. I definitely encourage you guys to look him up and look into him. And if I can find that link again, I will leave it in the description down below for you guys that are watching, where he talked in Capitol Hill. It was a fairly recent video too, and it was very good. I really enjoyed it, and I think that he had some pretty good points on it. So I'm here to educate you guys a bit, all right? You know, it's funny how as a society we've been just so influenced by our media, what we're being told via social media, and not just the media, but all of our entertainment. Netflix, Hulu, the movies that we watch, that we go to the theater to, that we spend top dollar on for an hour and a half to be entertained by. You know, not just that, but also being entertained with our own TV stand in front of us, with TV shows at our fingertips. All of these shows that we can watch and just sit on our asses and watch all day long. You know, and it's affecting us so much that we feel like we have to mimic it. It's a brainwashing, you guys, and a lot of us are still asleep. A lot of us are still in the Matrix, all right? Like, a lot of us are still in the Matrix. Excuse me. And we're not unplugging. We're not getting unplugged from it. We're trapped. I, myself, had to unplug myself from the Matrix. And, you know, I could really see how it ruined me as a man. it took away so many fundamentals that I needed for my masculinity, that I needed as a man growing up and coming into his masculine self. And it ruins a lot of women in a way of their feminine nature. It takes away their feminine aspects. Okay? Because they're all doing it just for a shot. They're all sport fucking each other for this this fantasy that they create. Because that's what pornography is, and that's what it creates. You know, it creates this fantasy in your mind that you can't really see or experience to a degree. I mean, God forbid, people are actually doing this in real life now. Listening on a podcast I had actually heard quoted via a podcast, the guy that was talking, saying that people that do porn as a career have no soul. To a degree, I think that is true. I've also seen people get out of the industry, you know, and the shell of a man or the shell of a woman that they had become after that completely fried their mind, you know. Of course, what you don't know and what you don't see is the high rate of, you know, sexually transmitted diseases that they all have, infections that they all have, and the drugs that they use to do those things, to perform for you that you're watching on that video, to see how high they actually are, you know. And it's ruining us as a society. So now going to the reality aspect of it is that if you're not watching porn as a guy or a girl, you're considered weird, okay? That's in my notes. You know, people thought that I was weird for wanting to stop looking at porn, to not look at porn. They're like, dude, what's wrong with you, you know? It's almost like that super bad joke, like, hey man, don't make me look weird because I think looking at porn's great. That movie was made like back in the fucking 2000s. You know, we were already getting it put in our minds that, you know, looking at porn's comedic. Looking at porn's funny. All right, let's look at it. Let's watch it. Let's jerk off to it. It's doing you no good. And I've mentioned before, maybe I'll just leave the link. Maybe I'll leave a link for you of my old video where I talked about this book, about what porn actually does to the mind, how it creates addictive properties and chemicals within your own brain. You already have a lot of these chemicals within you, but you hardwire yourself when you build these habits for your mind. Your mind is always looking for, the baseline is that your mind is always looking for habits, looking for a routine, for routines that you are doing day in and day out. And on this channel, what I talk about is trying to make healthy habits and to have healthy habits in your life. One of them is breaking the porn addiction. One of them is to stop masturbating, you know, or to stop masturbating so much. For you to interact with women, to have intimate relationships with women, okay? So I'll probably leave a link down below in the description as well. The book is called Your Brain on Porn by Gary Wilson, and it beautifully illustrates the science behind pornography addiction, which I think is true. Some people think it's placebo, some people think that it's all fake, it's all a crockery, but you get on some of these forums and you read pages upon pages of thousands of guys that are struggling with the exact same issue. I mean, that's what Gabe Deem did. He used his handy-dandy finder Google and Googled, you know, guy with ED problems. And he came across it. Of course, I'm regurgitating what he said in one of his many famous videos where he had talked about that. But, I mean, I think it bears repeating because it's not stopping. I almost want to say that it's getting worse. We live in an age where we have unlimited novelty. And so your brain looks for these patterns where it combines, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but certain hormones that give you pleasure and anxiety at the same time, which gets you hardwired to looking at that kind of genre of porn or that novelty of porn. And then the next thing you know, where the addiction comes into play and where you start to look more at this genre, you move on to other genres, more abusive, group sex, things like that. Like you start to look to some really degrading stuff. And it's because your body's getting a high off of it through your head, all right? You're getting a chemical mind high off of it. So you're hardwiring yourself to these specific genres. Then when the genre or the high doesn't do it for you anymore, you advance into these deeper, more elaborate, more explicit, what's the word I'm looking for? Derogatory, degenerate acts that people are doing to each other, and then you proceed to get off on it. That is what is ruining us. Okay, we're hardwiring ourselves to things that aren't real. Okay, it's fantasy. You think people really do that to each other? No, they don't. Okay? It's being put into our brains. And then we proceed to act those out in reality. It's kind of sad. It's really fucking sad. I saw what porn did to me and what it took away from me. All right, I started to realize after I watched Gabe Deem how much love and companionship, you know, how much humanity I was robbing myself from. And I was robbing that from myself because I got addicted to this. And you know, it wasn't by mistake. There were things in my past that caused me to go towards that. And I didn't have those features as a man, those qualities that a young man should be developing, you know, learning from basically the father figure in his life, or in essence, if we're talking about the traditional family experience, the father, and what he should have been teaching me for the fundamental concepts that I should learn and develop as a man to take with me into my careers, my relationships, life, you know, what I'm doing, what I'm trying to build, you know, and becoming this entrepreneur that I am now, you know, and pursuing those things and having pursuits, good pursuits. And so it took away those things. It took away those things, and I became lost. You want to talk about depression, man? I mean, I could give you a little bit of insight on that too. It made me depressed because it wasn't reality for me. I would look at myself in the mirror basically, and I saw a shell of a person. And it also had something to do with my lifestyle, my job situation too. At the time I was working nights at a hospital, and it was rough. Shift work. It's not easy. Yeah, I was making a lot of money, but I was not happy. I was not healthy. I didn't like the work that I was doing. It put in long hours. I was working 12s, more or less like three 12s on and then 2 days off. But then they made it more sporadic, so it just got more complicated. Now I'm in a way better job situation, and I'm living a much better lifestyle, as you can see. So, but it made me. It robbed me of my masculine traits. And I worked so hard to just try and figure out, you know, what am I missing? I felt like I was missing something this entire time. So then I went searching, and I kept searching. Luckily, I got some guidance from some older people, I could actually call them mentors, I want to say. They weren't with me 24/7 because I was doing this a lot on my own, okay? That's the other aspect of this. I was alone. I had nobody to talk to me. I had nobody that was going through the same things that I was going through and that could help me, that could aid me in show me some direction, you know? That also being the fact that I was, you know, lacking that kind of father figure, mentor, you know, Gandalf the Wise, Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of training on my path to become a Jedi. You know, I didn't have, you know, I didn't have Bruce Lee's teacher to teach me the way of mastering what I needed to master. So it it sucked. It was hard, but I got through it. My mentors started to pop up in books. Started reading again. Got back my love for reading, which was awesome. And it's been awesome. I like reading the books that I read. And I kind of just started getting these ideas, and now here I am. To try and keep it kind of vague, I'm here. I'm recording and I'm talking to you and I'm telling you about my experiences with NOFAP and relationships. But now I should probably get into the juicier stuff as we go further into Pandora's box. To kind of sidetrack, I will get to the women's part, but I wanted to talk about the kind of friends that it brought me around. You know, the kind of friends that I had, they didn't understand. They didn't see where I was coming from with, you know, struggling with this issue of basically lust, you know, being addicted to porn and masturbating, you know. But it was lustful. It's been lustful thoughts, too. And I found out as of late, like maybe about a year ago, until you can really eradicate that from your life, the monk mode principles don't really apply to you. Unless if you're diligently trying, you'll fail your hard resets. You'll fail your monk mode expeditions. You gotta be willing to go through hell to get to heaven, so to speak. You know, you gotta be willing to go through that hell to get your life back, to save yourself. You really gotta visualize yourself and get this vision stuck in your head that if you don't get through this, you're going to die, basically. And so where it comes into play is unless if you can eradicate lust. And you know, some of the stuff that you watch in porn is very perverted. Most of it nowadays, it's all perverted. A lot of it's very perverted. That ties into lust. I don't think people see the link. That's why it's degenerating. That's why we're turning into a degenerating society. Because people can't get past the fact that porn isn't normal. It's become the new normal. And I know that for a fact, me and a group of men, they're not here and they're not around me. I'm kind of the Lone Ranger right now in my own area. But me and a group of men that I've been talking with and that I talk to, they don't want that to be them. They don't want to live in a society where they have people like that porn is normal. No, it's not. It's not normal. It's not meant to be out there. It's not meant to be out and about. It's not meant to serve for our viewing pleasures, okay? And the weirdest thing is it's all free now and out on the internet. Why is that? You guys that are addicted, men or women, you ever thought about why it's free? Porn back in the day used to cost $80 for a video. Like to rent or to buy. Same price, renting or buying. You know? And I don't really know the prices because I never did that, but now it's all free. So what's the deal? Doesn't that kind of make you think twice? It's all free and available at our fingertips. It costs money to make porn. Where are they getting the money to make porn? That's why I think that there's an agenda with it. That's why I think that it's ruining men and women. That's why I think it's causing men and women to separate, to be alone, and to be stuck in their own heads or stuck in their own virtual reality. And I did a video on that too as well. Talked about that. There's an exact agenda, an algebraic equation to get us addicted, okay? The human mind is a lot like a computer. All right, so when you go through this addiction process or this reset process of rebooting, you know, what Gabe calls it, and I talked about that in my old video that I did, you are literally cleaning out all the bad files that you had in your brain and you're going to reboot yourself, okay? Mind, body, and spirit to get yourself out of the matrix, right? So people need to unplug. People need to be unplugged. But until they take that red pill, they're not going to get out. They're going to keep taking the blue pills and stay in that virtual reality, in the dreamland, right, where they're comfortable. It's the hard things that make you better. And the transition between that is when you go through the hard things, when you go through the hell, that makes you better. Things don't get easier, you just get better. And I've noticed drastic, if not a lot of improvement in the last couple of years for me and myself. A lot of it does have to do with my job and my lifestyle. My lifestyle now. And my job has just been helping me out a lot, but I'm also twice as busy right now too, because, I'm working 2 jobs. So I digress. So with the friends that I had, they thought I was weird. One of them was constantly always looking at porn, telling me this and that about this girl, and trying to have sex all the time and doing all this stuff. Like, he was just completely, uncontrollable. He was out of his head. He was fucking insane. I think back to it and I thought, wow, he was actually a really crazy dude. Why was I even friends with him in the first place? Why was I? And I ended up having to cut him loose. The other friend that I had the same problem. Dating, being more... What's the word? He was being more pronounced. He liked being with women, he liked being in relationships, but I don't think it gave him enough time to think about himself and to think about what he really wanted. But he still struggled with lust, he still struggled with a lot of things. And unfortunately, he was just a little too overdramatic. He definitely, he didn't have a masculine figure or a father figure in his life either, And neither did the last friend, but talking about habitual masturbation and things like that, how it was not normal, and how I kind of mentioned that to him, he thought that was weird. He thought that, what? No, it's healthy to do that. Is it healthy to do that? Sure, maybe to a degree, but habitually, addictively, no. No. That is not how we were meant to live our lives. We were meant to live it in a natural way, in nature, but we live in the modern world. Things have changed a lot. Things are still continuing to change. And who knows, maybe a month from now, maybe 5 months from now, maybe a week from now, 3 weeks from now, things are going to change even more. We're no longer living in the natural world. That doesn't mean that we can't go spend time in nature, though. Alright. So, basically the friends that I had, and then the other friends that I had, and then the more friends that I had, the more encounters that I had with my friends, the more that they got to know me, the more that they saw, they thought, man, this guy's weird. For not wanting to look at porn and masturbate. What's wrong with this guy? It's completely normal. It's healthy. The doctors tell you to do it. Right. Okay, the women I met thought the fact that I basically lived the NOFAP lifestyle, that I didn't look at porn or masturbate, they thought that it and I was weird. Okay? I mean, I've met some pretty fucking crazy women. Let me tell you guys. You definitely got to be careful who you get involved with in this world. You definitely got to be careful with who you start a family with, who you choose to be around. And as soon as you see some of those tendencies where maybe they have addictive tendencies to pornography, or sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes the chicks just want it so much that they're just nymphos, okay? Run. Stay away from those chicks. They're not going to serve you anything. What you need to find, and this is what I was talking about earlier, where women are losing their feminine qualities because of this addiction as well, and because of porn. I'm not trying to just blame everything on porn. There's a lot of other factors, but this is the main subject I'm trying to talk about. There are other things in social media that play into it too, but porn is taking away the feminine aspects of women, and it's ruining them, and it sucks, and it's sad. Okay? This feminist mentality is taking over, so, fuck that, okay? Now men can't be men with women, and women can't be women with men, and it sucks, okay? It's not proper. It's not how things were. We have our roles to play here in life. And when we get out of those roles, we start to like spiritually and physically die, metaphysically speaking too. It's not how we were built to be. We were meant to be, men and women. And when we come together, we create this beautiful companionship, this beautiful bond, right? These women that I've been around, a lot of them acted like men, okay? They thought that they could be men, and they had sexual advances like men. And I was just like, dude, this is not my cup of tea, okay? And it took me a while to pull it out of them, but, as I was starting to really get back into the dating world, I was in and out for a bit, and mainly it was because of what I was struggling with and dealing with. I didn't have those traits. And then, I really started to see, once I got those traits back, once I accomplished those, once I got the golden goblet and I was able to drink deep from that goblet, I was woke, I took the red pill, okay, and then I saw everything that was going on, and I saw, what was bad. So take it from me, guys, you don't want to date a girl that acts like you, okay? You just don't. You want a girl that's going to have those feminine qualities, and they're very rare and hard to find nowadays because of how things are going in our society, but there's about 1% out there. You're looking for basically a unicorn, and they're out there, but they're just very hard to find. Most women nowadays, God help us, and probably the most recent years, have more of a chance of finding a masculine guy than men do finding a feminine woman. So that's that. I mean, nymphos to BDSM shit, you don't want girls like that, you guys. You don't want them. They, it's, it's too much. It's not natural. You want to try and live a natural, traditional life with a woman, right? That's the best companionship, bondship that you're going to find in your relationships. So as men and women, this is how porn has ruined us. And then ruining men and women in relationships, this is how porn has ruined us. It's up to us to abstain from it, to turn off the phones, to be conscious of what we're watching on the internet, and to be also conscious of what we're watching on our TVs, our TV shows, movies, things of that nature. Not so much us as respectable adults when we come of that age, or when we're coming into that age of adulthood, but mainly what we got to watch out for is our kids. And our kids are important to us. It's amazing to see how fragile the mind can actually be at an early age, and then how receptible your mind is too, even when you're just living your own life. Okay, because your mind can absorb and take in things from something that you've watched or heard, that you listen to on like maybe a storytelling podcast, things like that. And you got to be careful what you put in your mind. You got to be careful what you put in your mind and what you watch with your eyes and listen with your ears, as well as speaking. That kind of comes last. I think there's a reason why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. But I don't know. I think it's going to take, I think there's small groups, but there's groups of people popping up around, and there's people in those groups that are speaking up, and I am one of those people that are speaking up about this and speaking up against it. And I think it's time that we start to